everyone, this is Cody, W3AMG with BridgeCom Systems, and in this week's live stream, we're going to be going through a few simple troubleshooting problems, common problems that you guys tend to have, very common problems that can happen, but they can really set you back in your DMR journey, and we want to help you get through that. So beforehand, let's go ahead and do a few shout outs here. Let's see, who do we have in the house today? Let me see here. We have a Dan. KI5IYR. Good morning, Dan. Mark, N4MQU. Good morning, Mark. Stephen, KG4SEW from Florida. Good morning, Stephen. John, W9YCD from Illinois. Rodney, WG, let's see, oh, went off the screen there. We have a Russ, N4RTD from Florida as well. Good morning, Russ. Greg, oh, went off the screen. Let's see. Dick, V6VS from Fairmont, California. Perfect. Gregory, N3GDS. Good morning, Gregory. Oh, there's Rodney again, WG4USA, like the call sign. Jason, W4GF in Alabama. Patrick, KE8CTZ. See, Tony, KB0ACP. Good morning, Tony. Robert, AA, oh, missed your call sign. John, N4JMB. Good morning, John. Perfect, so there we have it. We got lots of people on the stream today, so couldn't do it without you. So thank you for attending. You're going to certainly learn quite a bit today to do with troubleshooting and what to do when you encounter these problems. Now, before we go ahead and get started, I want to make a couple announcements. So we are going to be giving away a brand new AnyTone 878 Plus in the stream today. So you do have to be present to win, so make sure you put your name in, sign up to win this radio. One of you lucky guys is going to win this radio today. Not this particular one, a brand new one. And that will be awesome. But you do have to be present to win. So stick around till the end. You will have to be here. If whoever wins this is not present, we'll draw another winner. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first, I guess, big problem we see quite a bit with people with hotspots. Now, if you get like a plug and play package all set up, you're not going to have this problem because we do all this for you. But for people who had a radio and then they want to buy a hotspot and just want to set it up themselves, this is a big thing that people run into, especially now because as of recent, let's see, we need a HDMI cord here. Get that plugged in. That way you can actually see my screen. Perfect. So as of recent, they made a change with the Brandmeister system, so you actually have to have a hotspot security password. And if you don't have that, now it doesn't actually work. So I'll show you what I mean. So I have my hotspot here. It's all set up, got all my credentials in it. W3AMG, got my DMR ID. It's all set up. It should work great with my radio. But if I take my radio here, let's see, we've got one set up for the Parrot. Perfect. We'll try this. Turn it up. And I try to transmit to it. Testing, 1, 2, 3. This is W3AMG trying out the Parrot on my Skybridge hotspot. Everything looks like it works right. We see it over here on the hotspot. But I just get this beep. And this, before I knew how this worked, I sat there and hit my head against the wall for hours trying to figure this out because it's like it worked last week and now it doesn't work. Well, it's actually a really simple problem to fix. If you run into this, don't worry. Super simple. So the reason, the way you can know you're having that problem is if you believe you have everything set up right, your radio will actually activate the hotspot. You can see it on there, but it doesn't actually get out and it doesn't do anything. You just hear that beep. So to solve that, we need to open up Pi-Star. So on your Skybridge, I don't know if we can see it here on the screen, perfect. On your Skybridge itself, you want to go to the IP address that's listed. So in this case, that is 192.168.1.99. So I'm going to go there real quick, open up my web browser. Perfect. So 192.168 let's double check that. That was 1.99. And this can change from time to time as you plug the hotspot in on different networks. So there we go. So that brings us to our Pi-Star configuration. Now I've recently signed into this, but if you have not, it probably is going to ask you for a username and a password. Excuse me. So that username is going to be pi-star. So that's pi-star. And then the password is raspberry. So let's go ahead and click on configuration. And then from here, we can double check everything with the hotspot. Now you want to make sure it's set up correctly. This is kind of how it should look. You want your SkyBridge to be selected. There's a variety of other things that can go wrong here. Make sure your screen type, display type is set this way. The next-gen display and the layout here should look like this. Those things occasionally could change if you made a change in here and they were different and then you wrote to it. But typically that's not a problem. I do want to double check that though. But what is causing this problem is we can see hotspot security. We do not have a hotspot security password in here. Now, at this point, there's either going to be a couple options. Either you have one or you don't. So if you don't have one, what you'll need to do, is go to brandmeister.network and make yourself an account there. Just register. It's really pretty simple. You just have to, give them your call sign and information. They'll verify you as a real ham radio operator, and then you can create your account. And once you have your account, we'll just log in here real quick. Perfect. Log in. Now we should be able to go to Services over here on this tab, and then go down to Self-Care. And once you're in this Self-Care section, what you want to do, you can see this hotspot security password. That is the password we're talking about. Now don't get this confused with your Brandmeister account password. We want this password down here. Real simple. There is a kind of a guideline on the passwords. You want these hotspot security passwords to be kept pretty simple and generic. I like to, go with just all letters, lowercase. We've seen problems with complicated passwords, so we'll just put a very simple password in here. Perfect, and then hit save. And now at this point, your password is completely saved and ready to go. Now, you don't have to do this every time. Once you save your password, it's not going to show up here, but it will be saved. So that password, until I change it again, is going to be there. So at this point, I can go back over to Pi-Star and type that same password into Pi-Star. Perfect. And then just hit Apply Changes. Now we'll give it a minute to work here. Now this is probably one of the biggest problems we see with hotspots. For people who don't go with the plug and play option that's all pre-programmed, ready to go. If you want to bypass all the programming, you can do that and you're on the air in no time. But there's quite a few people who just try to get the hotspot, and if you're not paying attention, or you just didn't know, you'll run into problems like this. So we're showing you how to fix those problems today. There we go. So we should be set now that that's restarted. So let's go ahead and try it out again. So I got my radio here. Now nothing has changed on the radio, didn't change anything here. We just simply added that password. This is Cody, W3AMG, trying out my SkyBridge hotspot.
This is Cody, W3AMG, trying out my SkyBridge hotspot.
There we go, perfect. How cool is that? So that worked great. Just having that password in there is going to make a world of difference for you. It basically is just not going to work without it. So there we go, first problem solved, yay. And you guys can do this too. Any problem, you just have to do a little bit of research, talk to a couple people, and you'll solve the problem. There's no problem out here that's not solvable. Have some confidence in yourself. It's really not that difficult if you put your mind to it. So let's look at a band error situation. This is another very common problem, a band error. What happened? Band error can stump a lot of people because when the band error comes up, you know, you did everything, you followed all the directions, you wrote your code plug, and now there's a band error. What do you do? So let's give you an example of this real quick. So I've got my CPS here for my 878 UV2, my new radio. We'll use the new one for this. Got everything ready here. I've written this nice long code plug. It has all my states and different information in it. Everything I want's in here. You know, spent a couple hours making this, and now I want to put it in my radio. So I get my radio out. We'll plug in the programming cable. If I can do it without it getting in the way of the shot here. Perfect, so we got the radio plugged in and turned on. Now we can click on this COM port button up here. We see it in COM 3, we're all good to go there. Shouldn't have any trouble. And then you click on Write to Radio. Okay, other data, we'll just leave out the digital contact list because that would take a while. You click OK, and then we get this band error. Now this can be frustrating. If you guys have ever got this, you understand the pain here. You just spent all this time and now you have this problem. You can't get the information on the radio. Now this is a very, very simple problem to fix. It is a little bit frustrating if you've made it all this way and then found the problem. That's why I usually recommend, you know, if you're just starting out, make a real basic code plug first, write it to your radio, get used to it first, and then, you know, make your big master code plug. That way you don't run into an issue like this and have to redo any work. But in this case, that's what we have to do. So the band error, write data failed. So we couldn't write the radio. Now the reason this is, there's different, I don't know what you call them, but there's different band plans the radios are set up on. And there's a few differences there. There's a little bit more to it than that, but we'll just keep it simple. And the CPS and the radio have to be in agreement on what band plan they're working with, or you know what version. So if the radio is set one way and the CPS is trying to write to a different you know, band plan, for example, they're not going to really work out well together, and you're going to get this band error. So the key is to read from the radio first, and then build your code plug and then write to the radio. Now, if you made it to this point, there is hope, and we'll show you that later with another problem. You could just go up here to Tool, Export All, and then re-import it after you read from the radio. And we'll show you that here in a second with a different problem. But you know, in this case, what I'm going to do is we've got the radio here, so I'm going to read from radio. Yes. There we go. Now it's going to read just fine. Perfect. And now, if I was to, let's see here, we may not have anything in here, so we'll just make a quick channel here real quick. Oops. Digital, low power. We'll just make something here real quick. Okay. And it probably needs something to be in the radio ID list. So we'll, oops, contact list. Put something in. We have something in the radio ID list, so we should be okay there. And what else is it? It's going to look for a zone. We have a zone. Perfect. We have, oh, let's see, do we have anything? It looks like we already have some channels there. So we should be okay now. So if we now go to write to the radio, perfect, other data, there we go. We can see we can now write to the radio with no problems because we read from the radio first. So that is a big, you know, I know when I first got into these AnyTone radios, that was one of the mistakes I would make. I would, you know, build my code plug, get everything ready, and then go to write to the radio. And it's like, dang, I just put all that effort in and now it doesn't work. So just remember, you have to read from it first. Once again, real simple, very easy to solve if you have the problem, but, you know, better to avoid it in the first place, right? So let's talk about, there's another error that is pretty common, especially as people get newer radios and they still have their old software. We see this quite a bit. And we'll get out of here. We'll demonstrate this real quick. So let's say I've had my 878 radio. I've been using it for a long time on this, 878 software, a little bit outdated 1.18, just because I never updated it. And then I come along and buy one of these new 878 UV2 radios. Now, if I plug that in, and let's say I want to, read from the radio, because I'm following all the directions, want to do it the proper way, read from the radio, read the other data, and model type is wrong. So, it's like, oh no, what happened? Now this one is pretty easy to figure out, but you do have to have the correct version of CPS for your radio. They're both 878s, but this is a different version, the UV2. You will need the software made for that radio. Now you can also have similar problems with different versions of CPS for the same radio. I don't have a great example of that here, but I have seen that happen before. If you have like a real outdated version of CPS and a newer version, sometimes there's compatibility issues there. So just make sure whatever version you have in your radio is the one you use on the computer. Now we can, if we get out of here, we can show you how to check that real quick. So if we have a look at the radio here, I'll turn it back on. Wait for it to boot up here real quick. I will show you how to actually check what version of firmware you have, and that way you know what software to download. So just go to menu and then scroll down to settings. Perfect. And we'll go to device info. Go down, and now I can see that I am on firmware version 2.02N. So I now know what version I would need to download. Now typically, maybe one, if you have a radio that's one version outdated, typically it works fine with the newer version. So I usually just grab that and then update the radio. But it is a good rule of thumb to only use the radio with the correct version of CPS. You'll just run into less problems that way. So there we go, perfect. Let me close out of here real quick. And then there's one more problem I want to demonstrate, which is really quite common as well. Because code plugs, they take a bit of time to build, a lot of people like to share them. In fact, we even support that. We have a database on our website where people can submit code plugs to share, and people, all over the country and the world can download and use those code plugs for their area. That's a great way to collaborate in the hobby. But the problem is sometimes you run into problems with that, with them not working correctly. And let me show you what I mean. So we'll open up, let me see here. Open up the CPS real quick. Okay, and I'm going to open a code plug. So we'll go to my desktop. Perfect. And here is a code plug. So it's an RDT file. Perfect, we are all set there. And I've got this nice code plug that I got from a friend, for example. And now let's say I want to basically put this onto my radio. We'll plug this in. And now we see the problem. We really have no way to read from the radio first because we're getting the code plug from a friend. We're not building it. And even if I had read from the radio first and opened the code plug, we're still going to have the same issue. So if I go to write to the radio, we'll do the other data, we're going to get a band error. There's really no way around that. Now, if your friend and yourself had the same version of radio, this will work just fine, but typically that's unlikely. So to solve this problem, what you do is you go to Tool, then Export, excuse me, and then Export All up here at the top. Now we'll save this. You actually want to make a folder. Now if you don't make a folder, this is going to get quite messy. It's going to export not just the LST file, but it's also going to export all of the different files that go along with it. And they actually have to be kept in the same location. So if you just get rid of the rest of the files because you think you only need the LST file, which is true to some extent, you will run into problems because the LST file pulls from all those different files. So definitely create yourself a folder first. We'll do new, folder. Perfect, and we'll put this inside of here. Oh, I guess we have to give it a file name. Save that, and then export all. There we go, export complete, perfect. Now at this point, what I'm going to do is read from the radio. Oops. Just like we normally would. So we'll get everything back in sync here. Perfect. And now what I can do is go to Tool, Import. Just click OK. And then Import from File List up top. And there we go, perfect. There's the test code plug. So just click on that and then open. Yes. And now it's going to open that. Now, just to show you what that looks like, oh, perfect, there we go, it's complete. Just to show you that real quick, I'm gonna go out to the desktop and open up this folder. So we can see all of those different files that actually exported. Now, all you really need is this one, but it has to have this family of files to go with it or else it will not work. So make sure you keep those together. We've seen people export it and then move this file somewhere else. Doesn't work after that. So before you do the import, make sure all of these files stay together as a family. So we should be good now. Now this will not transfer certain information such as like the image on the radio and all of the optional settings, they disappear. So let's say I wanted to, we'll go into work mode. I just have to change a few of my common settings. I like display mode to be set to channel. You probably would too. I don't like to have sub-channel on. Let's see, power on. We could put our name and call sign in there. And just, personalize it a little bit. Perfect. And we'll go to display. We could do a custom standby. Let's see, background picture, custom one. Perfect. And then if we go to Tool and then Boot Image, we can open an image. We'll go, I think I have one saved here on the desktop. Find AnyTone custom backgrounds. We'll find one we like here. Here we go, that one looks all right. Open that and just write that to the radio real quick. I'm speeding through this because it is not essential, but I want to show you that any personalization that was in that other code plug isn't going to transfer across. That's why you will have to do that afterwards. But all of the essential data is going to. So we will, did I already click open? Yeah, we're good there. And now at this point, we can have to make sure the radio is connected. It's booting back up here. Now at this point we can see we have all of our zones. Everything should be in good shape. So we should be able to see the radio and the COM port. Perfect. And I think we kind of sped over this. These buttons up here, that's the read from radio button. This is the COM port button, and this is the write to radio button. Those are the primary buttons you'll be using. So go ahead and write to the radio, just like that. And now there we go. It is working now. Perfect. How cool is that? Okay, awesome. So let's have a look at the radio here. There we go. We can see the custom work we did here on the front. And check that out. Everything that was in that other code plug, I can scroll through my zones. Everything is now there. That is awesome. So perfect. So we have solved that issue too. So these are really the primary issues that people have. there's there's a lot of different issues out there. In fact, we'd love to know some of the issues that you guys have run into. And then if you ever have a radio that nothing works, you can't write to it, it doesn't even, you can't see it in the COM port, you may think about your programming cable. It's very rare that happens, but that is another issue that we've seen before. And then, really there's not that many issues you run into. So pretty much everything's solvable. Have some confidence in yourself, guys. You can do it. But anyway, if you have any questions about these radios, feel free to give us a call. We'd love to help you either get set up with one or just answer any questions you have. The number is 816-532-8451, and press 2, and we'll be happy to help you. And we also have a great Facebook group, the BridgeCom Systems official Facebook group page. There's a big community of people there wanting to help you. So if you have trouble, and just want some community help on it, you can post your things there. I know people are helping each other out all the time there, for the BridgeCom related stuff and ham radio in general. It's an awesome little community, and we're looking to grow that. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about some questions. What questions do you guys have? Now keep in mind, we are still doing a giveaway. So one of you guys, guys and gals, are going to win one of these radios. It's a brand new 878 Plus. So make sure you stay tuned for that. You have to be present to win, so don't go anywhere just yet. Let's see what questions we have.
Can off-brands connect to the SkyBridge?
Great question. So off-brand radios, will they work with the SkyBridge? Sure. I mean, it would have to obviously be a digital radio within reason. So the SkyBridge, if it's DMR, D-Star, System Fusion, NXDN, all those radios, that will work fine with it. Absolutely. Now, I would recommend AnyTone for getting started with digital. It is a great option. The 878 UV2 Plus. It's got that huge contactless capacity. That way, you're not having to buy a radio in another few months. Really, it's a great radio to get into digital radio with.
Seems when you add more than one hotspot, you have to go back and put the PWD in again.
Okay, interesting. That's a good point. I haven't experienced that myself. I've used quite a few hotspots and just kept the password in there, but unless I've just been using this hotspot in the shop since they implemented the whole password thing. That's good to know. So you may, if you have multiple hotspots, you may want to check that. If you get another one, you may want to check your password is still in there. Any more questions?
What is the best Pi to use?
What is the best Pi to use? So we really like the SkyBridge Plus hotspot. It's Pi-Star based. I believe it runs off a Pi 3B Plus or something like that. Don't remember the exact model there, but that's, they're all Pi-Star based. But the great thing with the SkyBridge Plus is it makes it super user friendly. You have all this information on the display. So you're going to be able to really easily set it up. You just take this IP address here, punch that into your computer. You're not fooling around with having to go find your router information, log into that. It makes it so easy to set up and use, save you a lot of time. Any more questions?
Do I have to add the 2-digit number after my DMR ID number?
The 2-digit number after your DMR ID number. That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure which number you're talking about. I know there is, I believe if you have multiple hotspots, there's a way to, without 2 different DMR IDs, I think there's a way you can add like a number afterwards to that. But we can certainly help you out with that if you have more questions about it.
When I load my code plug in, it loads a USA. How can I change to Canada without losing my code plug?
Okay, so that's a good question. If you're talking about the code plug in the CPS, there isn't really a country-specific designation there. It could be the talk groups that you're adding. You can add talk groups for Canada or US, different frequencies. Not entirely sure what you're talking about there, but for the code plug itself, you can add either Canadian or US talk groups. There's a lot of talk groups out for both, so just make sure you add those right talk groups. I know if you're talking about Pi-Star, it's very easy to switch between the country. You should be able to switch it there in the, English, US or UK, and then there's other options there too.
What is the purpose of the disconnect line in the code plug? Not sure of the purpose/use.
That's a great question. So the disconnect, or channel 4000, basically when you're on a hotspot, you have to be able to disconnect from that talk group before you can go talk to a different one. And channel 4000, or disconnect, allows you basically just key it up, and then it will disconnect you from that talk group, and then you'll hear a message that says not linked, and then at that point you can talk to a different talk group. So it's basically just a way you get out of a talk group. Now with a hotspot, you can run into issues if it's a super busy room or talk group. If there's a lot of people on there, you have to wait for a free spot to key that up. Otherwise, you won't actually be able to get out. So just keep that in mind. If you have trouble getting out of a talk group, just wait until there's a free second, then key up your disconnect. You'll hear that not linked message, and you're out of there.
Can you guys do a check-in on the Brandmeister group to see if we are configured correctly?
That's a great question. So the Brandmeister setup is pretty simple. I'm not entirely sure what you mean with a check-in, but if you're able to, have a look, let me see here. You can actually, I think I know what you're talking about. You can actually go to the Brandmeister dashboard and have a look at, we'll log in here real quick, have a look at your hotspots. It's been a while since I've done this, so bear with me here. We'll get logged in, my hotspots. Okay, there we go, perfect. So I can see my hotspot here, user dashboard. Let's see. You can actually see all of the different information, different hotspots out there. So if I click on US, I believe there's a way to search by users. Maybe if we go to hotspots here over there on the left-hand side, there should be a search. Here we go, search. So if I then search for W3 AMG, give it a second here. Oh. Being a little bit slow here, but oh, there we go. Perfect. So it showed up. We can see the hotspot here, and we can see the status. So you can certainly use Brandmeister to check your hotspot, and then you can also look at the last heard. You can see who's online, and if your call is actually making it across.
I have the supercode plug from BridgeCom. It's set to USA. I need to change it to Canada.
Okay, sure. So the supercode plug, it has all the different USA talk groups, but it also has 78 international talk groups as well. So you get all of those international talk groups. It's not really a country-specific code plug. It is tailored to the US, but it has all those international talk groups as well. So you can certainly add to that if you'd like.
Will the original 878 UV ever be updated to receive analog APRS?
The 878 UV, that's a great question. In terms of receive APRS, we probably are not going to see that. You'd want to go with the newer radio to be able to do that, receive APRS. That's probably going to be your best bet. If you get the new 878 Plus UV2, that's going to be able to receive and transmit APRS.
When using the promiscuous mode, can I actually transmit to the group?
So that's a great question. I'm personally not super familiar about the promiscuous mode, but that'd be a great question if you want to give us a call. We'd be more than happy to answer that for you.
Does the radio have to be on the battery to charge via the drop-in charger?
That's a great question. In fact, the radio does not. You certainly can put the radio and the battery on the charger, but what I like to do, I usually get like 2 or 3 batteries. That way I can always have one battery charging while I'm using the radio. They have great battery life, but it's really nice to be able to just switch the battery out when you run out of battery power instead of having to wait for it to charge. So you just take your battery and plop it in the charger just like you would the radio, and it will charge up without a problem.
How hard is it to upgrade firmware on the 878?
Great question. So the firmware update is really pretty simple. In fact, we actually have a video that will show you how to do that. And here, I've got a charger here real quick. So I'll show you how this battery works. If we can switch over here. So if you have your charger, obviously you have your radio. You just pop the battery off the radio. And just like the radio normally would, you just basically slide the battery into the charger like this, and it will charge perfectly fine. It's got little notches in the battery. It's made to do this, and you won't have any trouble. So get yourself a couple batteries so you can just keep one, charged, and then when it comes time to change it out, just swap them out, and you're up and on the air again. Any more questions, guys? We're going to do the giveaway soon, so stay tuned. Don't go anywhere just yet. You do have to be present to win.
Do you have the code plug that has the standard railroad channels in it?
That's a great question. So I don't have like a public code plug that has the railroad channels in it. Now, where I got mine, there's a lot of resources online. You can just find the channels, and they were super easy. I just basically took that list and then imported it into the CPS, and there you have it. I'll have to see if I can find that and point you guys towards it.
When you import new channels to an existing code plug, do they overwrite what is there, or do they append to the end?
So if you do like the import all, it is going to overwrite what is there for those channels. Now, usually what I do, like for example, when I added those railroad frequencies, what I did is I did an export all, and then took that, opened it up in Excel or some kind of numbers processor. You don't have to use Excel. And then I added what I wanted to the bottom, and I didn't know all of the different information. Obviously, I wasn't transmitting on them, so I didn't really need it, but the CPS does want you to have the other information filled out. So I basically just extended all those fields, and so I had a complete block of data, and then re-imported that back into the CPS.
The hang time after I release the PTT button, not Bluetooth, when using DMR seems excessive. What setting in the CPS affects this? Can you show us how to adjust it?
That's a great question. So the Bluetooth shouldn't really have much of a hang time afterwards. We haven't experienced that. You maybe take a video of it, show us what's going on. But I don't believe there's an option for that in terms of the Bluetooth.
I believe it's not Bluetooth.
The button. You do have to remember that there's a slight delay, so I would definitely start, press the button and then start talking. You don't want to press it right as you talk. But we haven't really had too much trouble with that. But yeah, let us know what's going on. We'll work with you on it.
Are programming cables standardized across brands?
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. This cable is pretty standard, the K1 style plug, but there's even people who have different ones. Some have a chipset in, some don't. So you definitely want to use the right cable for your radio. You could break things or just have it not work if you don't. So make sure you have the correct cable.
Do you need to have a Brandmeister account to run a Pi-Star hotspot?
So you will actually need to have a Brandmeister account for a Pi-Star or any kind of Pi-Star based hotspot device. So make sure you get your Brandmeister account. You wouldn't have needed to have one until the hotspot security password came along, but since that is mandatory now, you will have to have that Brandmeister account. We have a winner.
Hey everyone. Hey, thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to take a moment and let you guys know we started these live streams back in October of last year. And by the way, I'm Ron, KC0QVT, and it's been a really big success. A lot of you guys are getting into DMR, And as evidenced by the attendees, we got over 300 folks on the YouTube channel right now. But anyway, I wanted to make a special announcement to you guys. Something that I've been doing in the background is I've launched a new series called Ham Radio Heavyweights that is premiering tomorrow at 11 a.m. on our YouTube channel. This is a series where I've been interviewing largely successful hams, and I've sat down with them, spent about an hour with them, interviewed them, and I'm going to be debuting these episodes probably bi-weekly at first. But anyway, this is what I've been doing in the past. We got our inaugural episode going out tomorrow, so it'll be going out on our YouTube channel. I just want to invite you guys to check this out. This is called Ham Radio Heavyweights. These guys are really special folks in the amateur radio community. It's going to be a growing series that we're doing anyway. So while you guys are getting your entries put in for this live stream giveaway, keep that in mind, because we'll have a notification on your email of this going on, and I invite you guys to check that out. So this is something we've been working on. And anyway, yeah, back to Cody here. You guys are doing great. It's awesome to see so many people checking this out. DMR is growing. 500 folks are being added a week to DMR, and it's growing. So anyway, Brandmeister, TGIF, DMR Plus, it's an awesome community. So anyway, take care, guys, and let Cody draw the winner, or whoever.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, Ron. There you have it. So make sure you check out Ham Radio Heavyweights. Don't want to miss out on that. It's going to be a really cool thing, all the heavyweights in ham radio. So let's go ahead and pick a winner. Now keep in mind, folks, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 816-532-8451, and press 2. And this radio, one of these brand new 878 Plus radios, is going to be given away right here, right now. Now, make sure you stick around until there is a confirmed winner, because if there's not, we'll draw another one. Let's see who it is.
The winner of the giveaway is Ryan Boutram, K9LAF.
Ryan, K9LAF. Are you here in the house, Ryan? We'll see real quick. Make sure he's online. And there is a little bit of delay in the feed here, so we'll find out here in a second. Do we have Ryan in the house? Are you here, Ryan?
Boiler RAM, he's here.
Oh, perfect. You're Ryan. Awesome. Well, congratulations. You have just won yourself a brand new AnyTone 878 Plus radio. So you're going to be on the air with DMR in no time. So congratulations to you, Ryan, and thank you for everyone else who attends these. It's an awesome way to learn. If you have any friends who are interested in learning about ham radio and DMR, send them this way. It's a great resource to be able to learn some more about it. And hey, you have fun doing it, right? Anyway, I appreciate it. Make sure you don't forget to check out Ham Radio Heavyweights. That premieres tomorrow. Awesome new show that our in-house specialist, Ron, KC0QVT, is going to be doing. You don't want to miss out on that. So I thank you all for attending. I'm Cody, W3AMG with BridgeCom Systems 7.3.